Loneliness. Let's start with the one your cardiologist will never bring up during your appointment. A University of California study analyzed data from 3.4 million people and found that chronic loneliness is more dangerous for your heart than smoking 15 cigarettes every single day. Think about what that actually means. You could be hitting the gym 4 times a week, eating clean, taking your omega-3s, but if you go home to an empty apartment where nobody genuinely knows you, your heart is under more biological stress than the guy who smokes half a pack and has someone who actually laughs at his jokes. Loneliness isn't a mood. It's a medical condition where your nervous system gets permanently stuck in threat mode, cortisol stays chronically elevated, and your arteries stay inflamed around the clock. That lone wolf identity you've been romanticizing, your heart is paying for that aesthetic in real biological currency. And here's where it connects to everything else. Because every single warning sign after this one gets dramatically worse when you're carrying it alone. Breaking. Now here's the one that sounds like something from a movie, but is documented in every major cardiology journal in the world. Takotsubo Cardiomyopathy, what doctors quietly call broken heart syndrome. When something emotionally catastrophic happens, a betrayal, a sudden loss, a message that rewrites your entire reality in 3 seconds, your body floods itself with so much adrenaline that your left ventricle literally changes its physical shape. Part of your heart gets temporarily paralyzed. The symptoms are identical to a heart attack. The ECG looks abnormal, but when they run the full scans, the coronary arteries are completely clear. No blockage. Just a heart that couldn't handle what just happened to it. And here's the part nobody tells you. It's not only triggered by grief. It has been documented after extreme happiness too. People have gone into broken heart syndrome at their own wedding, at a surprise party, at the exact moment they got the news they had been waiting years for. The cruelest irony in human biology is that the moments you feel the absolute most are the exact moments your heart is the most physically vulnerable. Arguing. Let's talk about the fight you had last Tuesday, and the one before that, and the one that has basically become background noise in your relationship at this point. Ohio State University researchers took blood samples from couples before and after emotionally charged conflicts and found measurable spikes in IL-6 and TNF-alpha, inflammatory markers that are directly and extensively linked to cardiovascular disease. Your argument last night didn't just ruin your evening. It created real, measurable inflammation inside your bloodstream. And if that pattern repeats every week, every month, for years, that inflammation stops being occasional and starts being chronic. Arteries stiffen faster, plaques accelerate. The research conclusion is brutal and completely unambiguous. Staying in a chronically unhappy marriage is scientifically more dangerous to your cardiovascular system than getting divorced. Read that again slowly. The thing you are enduring for the kids, or because it's complicated, is more dangerous than the thing you're afraid to do. Your heart already figured this out. You're just the last one to find out. Doubting. Here's where it gets uncomfortable, and I need you to stay with me. When someone consistently makes you question your own reality, your feelings, your memory, your perception of events, your body doesn't process that as emotional discomfort. It processes it as a physical threat. Not metaphorically, literally. Your hypothalamus activates. Your adrenal glands start pumping cortisol. And this doesn't happen once during a bad night. It happens in small doses every single day across years. Chronic cortisol elevation directly damages arterial walls. They thin out, plaques form faster, blood pressure elevates and stays elevated. Emotional abuse leaves no bruises, shows up on no x-ray, gets flagged on no routine blood panel. But when you sit in your doctor's office with hypertension at 38, he will ask about your sodium intake. He will ask if you exercise. He will almost certainly never ask whether someone at home has been systematically dismantling your sense of reality for the past 4 years. The question that would actually explain your entire chart never gets asked. Sleeping. This one is a very specific pro tip and almost nobody talks about it. Fighting in the last 90 minutes before you fall asleep is one of the most damaging patterns for cardiac recovery that exists, and millions of couples do it every night without realizing what it costs them. During the early stages of sleep, your parasympathetic nervous system takes over, heart rate drops, blood pressure falls, and your heart actually recovers from the cumulative stress of the entire day. That window is the whole biological point of sleep from a cardiovascular standpoint, but if you enter that window with cortisol and adrenaline already spiked from an unresolved conflict, the recovery window closes completely. British researchers found that couples who went to sleep after an unresolved argument had significantly worse heart rate variability the next morning. And heart rate variability is one of the strongest established predictors of future cardiac events we have. Your heart was working through the night. That's why you wake up exhausted from 8 full hours, ready to continue the exact same argument, wondering why your body feels like it aged 5 years overnight. Forgiving. Here's the counterintuitive one, and it's going to irritate you before it helps you. Dr. Charlotte Van Oyen Whitfleet at Hope College ran a study where participants were asked to think about people who had genuinely, seriously wronged them. Blood pressure spiked immediately, heart rate climbed, facial muscles tensed without any conscious effort. Then those same participants were guided through active forgiveness practice. Not pretending it didn't happen, not reconciliation, not excusing anything, just releasing the physiological grip of the grievance. Blood pressure normalized, heart rate settled, inflammatory response measurably reduced. Carrying resentment is not a personality trait. It is a continuous cortisol drip running directly into your cardiovascular system every single day. When you refuse to forgive someone, you are not protecting yourself or making a statement. You are keeping yourself chained to a slow biological punishment that the other person is completely unaware of and entirely unbothered by. You're not hurting them. You're just destroying your own arteries in their name. Scrolling. Here's one that nobody connects, and it's sitting right in front of all of us. Passive social media use. The mindless scrolling, the comparing, the watching other people's lives from a distance without ever actually reaching out, directly amplifies loneliness and social isolation, which, as we already established, is your single biggest emotional cardiac risk factor. But active social media use, real replies, genuine conversations, actual back and forth, produces the measurably opposite effect. Oxytocin releases, isolation decreases. Your cardiovascular system literally responds differently depending on whether you're consuming or connecting. The device in your hand has the ability to either quietly accelerate your heart disease risk or meaningfully reduce it. The difference is entirely in how you're using it. And most people are using it the wrong way without ever realizing there was a choice being made at all. Grieving. This is the last one, and it's the heaviest. A large-scale study published in the Journal of Public Health found that in the 30 days following the death of a long-term partner, the surviving spouse's cardiac mortality risk increases by 41%. Not sadness, not depression. 41% higher probability of dying from a cardiac event.
In the first month alone.
Because oxytocin levels collapse suddenly. Because immune function deteriorates rapidly. Because the vagus nerve, the nerve that directly regulates your heart rate, becomes destabilized when the attachment it was calibrated around simply disappears. The body genuinely doesn't know how to keep its own rhythm without that person in it anymore. People die of broken hearts. Not poetically, not as a metaphor, statistically, repeatedly, documented across decades of research. And it isn't exclusive to romantic love. It happens with parents, with lifelong friendships, with anyone whose presence became structurally load-bearing inside your nervous system. Here's the mistake almost everyone makes. They treat their relationship problems and their health problems as two completely separate conversations. One belongs in therapy, the other belongs in a doctor's office, and the two never meet. But they were always the same conversation. Your blood pressure is not just a plumbing issue. Your chronic inflammation is not just about what you ate. Your exhaustion is not just a sleep hygiene problem. The reason this connection never gets made isn't because the science isn't there. It's there, it's extensive, it's decades deep. It's because cardiology and emotional health get billed separately, treated in different buildings, by different specialists who never compare notes on the same patient. And the last thing, the one that changes how you see all of this. Your heart is not a pump. It contains roughly 40,000 neurons. Researchers call it the heart brain. It processes information independently. It sends signals to your actual brain. And research suggests those signals arrive first. When something in your chest tells you that something is wrong, that something doesn't feel safe, that you've been ignoring something for too long, that is not anxiety. That is not overthinking. That is an organ with its own neural network that has been quietly paying attention long before your conscious mind was willing to admit anything. Your heart has been trying to tell you something for a while now. The only real question is how much longer you're going to make it wait.